Welcome to Photographers at Google, and it is my supreme pleasure to introduce Karen Hutton. She's one of the most energetic, full of life people on the planet. Besides being an amazing photographer, here are a few things you might not know about Karen. She was an actor, film, stage, and television, voiceover artist who's done hundreds of commercials, and she's the voice of Stuck on Earth, created by Trey Ratcliffe, professional ice skater and dancer, a horse trainer, creator of Little Galleries. She teaches workshops, photo workshops, does virtual photo walks, and her work has been featured on the NBC Nightly News. And she has a video chat series called The Chat with Karen Hutton, soundbite insights from some of the coolest people on the planet. She also has a list of firsts on Google+. She attended the very first Google+ photo walk. She was one of the first people to join Google+ a couple years ago, and she has now over 1.5 million followers. She was my first hangout on air for Nick Software at Google, and she was also the first person I interviewed for our Google+ Women in Photography series. Now today, Karen is also a first. She's the first woman for our Photographers at Google Talk series. Her topic today, she'll be discussing signature, finding your soul's genius and voice in your photography. Please give a warm welcome to the amazing one and only, my friend, Karen Hutton.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I feel exhausted hearing about my life. I'm like, I need a rest. So today, I'm going to tell you a story, because that's what I do. I tell stories. And we're going to build this story together. And I'm going to try and remember that for you, it goes this way. For me, it goes this way, but for you, it goes this way. So I'm going to go this way. So we're going to build this story. How many of you like to be recognized for the things you do and for your photography? I know I do. Yes, thank you. Some of you didn't raise your hand, and I find you suspect. But that's okay. We'll work this out later. So recognition and being noticed. Some of us feel ashamed about that. Oh, I shouldn't want to be noticed. Well, guess what? Wanting to be seen and heard and felt and smelt and experienced is one of the most primal needs of humans, of humankind. I mean, we're here to be, amongst each other, be in community. And not being seen and recognized is just goes against everything we know and love. So when it comes to photography, I've coached all these things that she mentioned. I've coached them all too. And we also didn't talk about the fact that I've coached television and news broadcasters for 25 years and done photography all my life. And so everything I've ever done, oddly enough, has been all centered around, all right, what does it really mean? What is it, what thing can we bring to everything we do that makes it really special, that makes it mean something, that can be kind of a soul's connection? I don't know what it is about me that just is always on this course, but that's the way it is, so get used to it. So my opinion, that's all we ever really have, is it? Our opinion is you need a signature. So what is your signature? Now, obviously, we kind of know what a signature is, and you're probably all going to laugh at me because you're like, oh, she's such an idiot. I know what signature is. And of course, here's the definition. Any unique, distinguishing aspect, pattern, feature, or mark. But keep thinking, we're going to apply this to photography in our story that we're going to build. So the thing about signature that I have learned is that it bears the stamp of who you are. It bears the stamp of your point of view. It bears the stamp of your soul, what you have to say, what you want, what I want you to feel, what I want to feel. It bears all that. That's what a signature is all about. And inasmuch as all we have really to offer is us, is who we are, that signature really needs to be in everything that we're doing if we want to be recognized. Because nobody can do you as well as you. Nobody can do you. Nobody can do me as well as I can do. That's why I'm here, and not someone else. I would have hired someone otherwise. Kidding. So we're going to start here. So signature is what enables someone to know that it's you talking. You know, you recognize your mother's voice on the phone, you recognize your dog's footsteps coming down the hallway. There's a lot of things about someone you recognize, the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they smell, just the way they are. They're stamped. They're like, ah, I know you. Well, how do you know you? It's all those things, right? And it's the glance, it's the look, it's this thing right here that I'm looking at, this worldview that I see here, that I'm going to see here in a minute, that I see here, my worldview, my point of view. Now, I learned this from an amazing voice coach that I worked with for a number of years in Los Angeles. She works with celebrities. She works with, they call her the voice whisperer. Her name is Maurice Tobias. And she uses this term when teaching us. Her point of view about it, which I think is very true, if we take it from voice and put it into photography, it is what it is like to be in the presence of your voice. So when we talk about a voice, when she's talking to us about voice, we're talking about speaking voice. But I'm talking to you about the voice in your photography, your voice. So what is it like to be in the presence of your voice? Now, this signature idea is also what enables you to, as the feed comes through your Google Plus stream, you know, here comes a Trey Ratcliffe, here comes a Thomas Hawk, here comes whoever you follow and admire. Oh, I know that work. Guess how you know that work? Because the signature's in it. It's all over it. You see it. You know it. That's what we want in our photography. Would you agree that's a good thing? Yeah. Good. Glad we're on the same page because we have a whole story here to create. So when you talk about this idea of what is it like to be in the presence of your voice, most great artists I know of, they're always in this state of like humble amazement because they know, the really good ones know, that it's not them that's putting the art, you know, the photograph or the art on the canvas or making the sculpture. They know it is this spark of divine fire that is coming through them. And that their job is to stay clear enough to allow this thing to happen so that when they're done, they look at that and they're amazed. They're like, damn, that came through me? Right? That's art. So right here, at the beginning of our story, we're taking photography and we're going to talk about it as art. Because yes, there's journalistic, yes, there's, you know, snapshot at a party, but even that can have a signature. And because of what I want to talk to you about, because the amazing thing I've noticed over the years is that people who engage in this whole signature process end up in a different place in their life than people who don't. And I have found that fascinating, and it doesn't matter if it's in photography, in voice, in acting, in all these things that I've done, it's all the same. It's amazing. So a signature cannot be bought. It cannot be borrowed. Of course, when I first heard about it, Maurice was telling us all about signature, and I got so nervous because I was like, oh my God, now I need a signature. Where do I get it? Do I buy one? Is there a sale? Is there something online? Can I? Ugh. But no, it's actually kind of this inner process that you have to go through to bring it out. And in photography, if we break it down to make it simple, because what I'm saying is all very good in theory, but what does it really mean? There are elements to a signature. There are things you already know about yourself that if you focus on them in your photography, it already creates an interesting, different, unique point of view. So I'm going to show some photos of my own, not because like I'm the best photographer on the face of the earth, I'm okay, but I have a signature, I've thought a lot about it, and I chose some photos that show it in a really simple way so that we can have a discussion about it. So, this is one. Now, I mentioned before, I am always on a journey. I didn't use that word, but I'm a journey person. I'm always going from here to there. I can't stand still. I don't think that's our nature to stand still. I think evolution is just part of who we are. So one of the elements that tends to show itself over and over are we're going somewhere. So I love leading lines. So we have leading lines. We're going on a journey. We have the mystical mist. I love the mystical mist. I require a certain amount of mystical mist in my life. In this case, we had mystical mist because there was some fog, but there wasn't enough, so I added a little bit. And I don't mind doing that because this is my expression of my reality, and I'm going to put it out there, and that's what I'm going to roll with. I love the light from above. I love the pop of color. I love that it's warm and then cool. And I love that it just makes you want to go and see what's around the corner, because I think that is the nature of life, and that is how I live my life, and that's how I think about it. So, boom. I would say of many of the photos that I have, this has probably been one of the more shared photos probably on the internet, because it must strike a chord with people. I know it's got more of the elements between light and magic and mystery and leading lines and the journey and the colors. I would say it has probably the most elements of my own signature in it of most photos that I do. I don't really know why it got shared so much, but anyway, it did. So there you go. And it's in the +1 collection book. I believe it's on page 10. I'm not sure. I could be wrong about that. I knew it at one point. Anyway, so then perspective and leading lines. If you know your signature and you know you're the kind of person that looks at things differently, then that's going to inform where you hold your camera. You're going to hold it here. You know, if the normal shot is like, I'm going to shoot all of you, but now I want to get a different perspective, maybe I'll hold it up, maybe I'll hold it down, maybe I'll hold it sideways. How you see the world will inform you. So this is in Florence, and it was a lovely shot holding the camera. Did I have a tripod? I don't think I had a tripod. Had I had a tripod, it would have been a nice shot just, here. But I put the camera on the ground and tipped it up and put it a little bit crooked, because I thought, if I were a little critter crossing the road and I looked up and I looked down, is it safe? Shall I keep going? That's what it would look like. And then because it's a little critter, I might as well go with the movie moment, which I'm always playing movies in my mind, and process it in kind of a movie, kind of animated, sort of fun way. So that's how I decided to take that, and that's how I decided to process it, was my perspective. So, just examples. Light, I'm all about light. Life is light. My photography business tag is Karen Hutton, Life is Light Photography. Because I think we chase light as photographers. We wait for light. We curse the light. We judge the light. We wait. We live for the light. We get up for the light. We stay up for the light. And I think life is light. So light features in a lot of my photos. I love to shoot into the sun, which is why one of the reasons why I do a lot of HDR. Which this is, because it's just easier, to get all the levels of light when you're shooting into the sun like an idiot. Leading lines, the nugget in the front, you kind of stop and see things along the way, but you're on a journey, the reflections, all that is just part of who I am. Journey, now it's not going that way. Now we have a bike getting ready to go out and take the journey that way. So, journey. And again, kind of a surreal processing, purposely. Journey, hi, how you doing? Two-tone, this feels like a slice. You know how when you have a dream and all you remember is this, I remember, and then you have this one frame and you're like, what did that attach to? What was going on? I just remember this one frame from my dream. Do you ever have that? Yeah, that was what this was like for me. Journey, we're going somewhere, and in between is this dreamscape, which is why I use this sort of surreal blue two-tone approach. I'll show you the before later. I decided the boardwalk didn't have enough curve in it, so I gave it a little more curve as well. Because I personally, this is a thing in my life. My husband's here, and he'll tell you, if reality doesn't suit me, I will fix it to suit me. Because I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work for me, could you? Yeah, I do that. So that's going to show up in my photography as well. Lines, here we have a nice combo. We have a little journey going on here. We have a little leading line action. We have the enormity and beauty of these big trees. I threw this in here too because people often wonder how to shoot forests, because sometimes they can look really messy and chaotic. And if you can find some really strong lines and make that the story, because this is a story, then it helps a photo a lot. This was interesting. Brian and Nicole will recognize this. In the Columbia River Gorge, Horsetail Falls, right? I think. I was there with Brian Bonham. Anyway, these trees are like, oh, they're so amazing when you're in them, but how do you shoot them? So I decided that the character of these trees was they had these arms, these like, ooh, and you better not get caught by one of those arms. Or It could be prehensile fingers. Either way, they're alive and they have intelligence. And so I decided that this would be their body, and those would be their arms, and the waterfall behind them gives them a little break in the green and makes it all stand out, and to me, that made a character. Like, that could be on a storyboard in my movie of a character that looks like that. So, welcome to my mind. It's a scary place. So just again, light features in the leading lines. Another thing that's really helpful, if you think about it, is these trees were huge. They're probably, well, I'm terrible at distance, but you know, well over 200 feet tall. They're very, very big trees. And I decided that the better shot was not to show it, because then I'm explaining the whole thing to you. Oh, they're this big, which never really shows up anyway. You can never show that kind of perspective in a photo. So imply it. You know, create some nice leading lines, a nice little sunburst. I love sunbursts. And imply the height and let the viewer fill in the rest. It's a lot more fun for them, and it's entertaining for you, and the kids will love it. Perspective. So, I'm all about perspective. I am opinionated, I will admit. But I try not to be too judgmental. And I'm really, really about perspective, because if you have the right perspective about things, you don't have to be in an adversarial position in your life. You can actually understand things and go, oh, because as an actor, that's what we had to do. If you got a character in a show, you couldn't say, I hate her. She's stupid. You know, how do you play that? You can't. You can't be in judgment of what you're participating in. So perspective is really important in life, I think, and in photographs. So here in Siena, my first trip to Siena, which was hugely impactful for me, because I had read about it as a kid. There was a book called Gaudenzia, Pride of the Palio, about a horse and the Palio race. And I never forgot that book. It was, God, I probably read that, okay, a lot of years ago. We won't go into that. So this was the history in this place, and the mystery in this place at night just blew me away. But it wasn't, if I held the camera straight, everything was straight. And I used a 14 millimeter on this, but if I held it straight, it was too postcardy. It was too travel brochure. So I said, and besides which, these buildings all felt to me like they were looking down at us going, another batch. They're just like the ones 400 years ago. And I'm like, whoa, they're so old. So anyway, I took it and turned it and deliberately pulled this corner of this building down, because that's what those big lenses do, is they distort. I love that distortion. And offset the center so that they would feel like people. So they'd feel like beings, maybe not people, but their own being kind of looming down. And left that light in there, because life is light, so you know, might as well. And that became my impression of that place. So again, my signature informing. So I'm just going to kind of roll through a few more of these. Same thing, looking up. I have a tendency to look up, kind of a looker-upper. Kind of like to see the glass half full. Don't make a face, Brian. And this is one, this is comparing, this is like a contrast in the old and the new, two kinds of wood, you know, the growing up and the disintegrating. It just, the contrast, the juxtapositions, I love all those things. So I tend to look for those in my photographs. Same thing here, everybody and their brother. Has anybody shot this car down in Bodie? Nobody's copying to it. It's an amazing car. You should go shoot it. And everybody shoots it who goes to Bodie. And I almost didn't, because I'm like, oh, everybody shoots that car. And then I thought, well, what's that car's story? So I decided that the car's story was, and it didn't occur to me until I brought my camera down, and all of a sudden it had a face. So all of a sudden, it became this like poignant story of this family car that was once loved and beloved, now sitting out here in this field with the grass growing up, and time is like reabsorbing it. And as I got down there, mind you, I'm someone who hears music and like full scores of movies and dialogue and the whole thing. It's kind of frightening. Lori has occasionally said, I just want 5 minutes in your mind, she said one day. I think she's got it down to like a minute, 30 seconds. She said, I don't want to be in there too long. Anyway, so down, it became the story of this car that is like waiting. It's outside, right? And its owners are getting ready to go to town, and the car's like, oh, we're going on a ride. And then she hears the owners in the house going, fire up, Bessie, we're going to town. And she's Bessie. So, okay, you're probably learning more about me than probably should be sharing. But anyway, I make movies in my mind everywhere. So again, a frame out of my movie. You're welcome. This was the photo that was on NBC Nightly News. It was the final shot of a virtual photo walks, a story on virtual photo walks. And because I had done a virtual photo walk from Hovenweep, which is where this was taken. And time, this is like the time machine shot. This is like the old and the new, the sun and the light being of the moment right now. And this 1,200-year-old ruins is so not right now, and yet it is. And the sun, the light, is what connects them. So it was kind of again, strangely, as I see life. So yeah, I have lots of photos here. You probably don't need to see them all, but I'm just going to kind of thumb through them. You can sort of see Harold and Maude was a movie. Did any of you ever see that movie, Harold and Maude? So somebody had carved Harold and Maude on the side of this, and the sun was there. It was like, oh my God, I have to take this picture. Because this is a movie moment, a light moment, kind of a crazy moment, Harold and Maude and their story. Textures, I love texture. I love dreams and altered realities. I'll show you befores and afters of some of these. These are mostly for the textures. Perspective, again, small and large. And then we have small and large with the large implied. That's in New Zealand. Sunsets. I love my sunsets. I didn't put the 2,000 sunset photos that I've got in here, just a few that just tell a story. And again, you know, I love color. I grew up with black and white. That was my professional training. I went to school and we studied black and white, but somehow I've evolved into this, I don't know, time or this age or who I am now, and I just love color. I'm just like, oh, I love color. So I tend to, you know, although I didn't have to do too much to this, this was pretty much crazy that night. That was pretty much crazy that night. I love my animals because I grew up in the country. And I love the connection that animals have with the world around them. So those are just some things. So I'm just trying to show elements through my photos of what I'm talking about when we just talk about signature. So when we're talking this way, we're talking about photography as art. So I never remember this, so I always have to read it. The definition of art is the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. So art values beauty and emotional power. Now, I think we all know what's beautiful to us. I think it's undervalued in our society, and I think there was a point in history where that decision was made to split off between science and art. That's a history lesson. We won't go into that today. That's tomorrow. Kidding, don't come back here tomorrow looking for that. So the thing about art, though, art, I'm going to actually put this on the screen. Art lets us dream. So art is a place we go when we want something better. Like I mentioned before, our spark of divine fire. The place where we go for something better, for our higher view, for, what more could there be? We go to art, and by art, it can be your life, it can be your photography, it can be something you do, but artful living, that is living your life as an art, right? And that's kind of where I'm talking about. And the thing of it is, this is not new. I was curious to see, this does look good. So, Rumi, how many of you know Rumi, the mystic and poet, right, from the 1200s, the 13th century? He said, let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. I think that's really important. That was how many years ago? And he was telling people this. Why? Because I think people make choices about, well, I'm going to feel this way or I'm going to do this because it will get me that, something on the outside. When in fact, the thing that gets you recognized, the thing that leads you to something better or to a better photograph is what you love about the photograph, about your perspective, about your processing, about how you're going to make your voice, which is what signature is leading us to, how you're going to make that heard and seen and smelt and felt in every other sense that you can possibly pack in. In the 1800s, late 1800s, James Allen, who was a writer, he wrote kind of, not a spiritualist, but he wrote about, I guess you'd call him a self-help author of the 1800s. The vision that you glorify in your mind, the ideal that you enthrone in your heart, you will build your life by, no matter what. Even if you don't choose to, whatever you think about and feel about the most, that is what you will build your life by. That is what you will become. So if art, carry it all the way back to your photographs, allows you to dream of something better, to dream of, wow, I didn't think of doing it like this, what if I do? That process starts to find its way into your life. And this is one of the real big powers to me of photography and art. More recently, Gloria Steinem said, without leaps of imagination or dreaming, we lose the excitement of possibilities. And that's what we're really talking about here, is having possibilities. Dreaming, after all, is a form of planning, which I love. I love that. So what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? Whether it's photography, whether it's life, what dream, what dream would you have about this photograph, about this vision, about what you want to do and who you want to become if you knew you couldn't fail? So, yeah, you thought we were going to talk about photography, didn't you? Ha! So this brings us to story. We use our photographs to tell a story. We dream of a story. Like, I just took you through some of my crazy photographs, right? Oh, I think I'll do this with it, because it's a story. How many of you heard Alan Shapiro's talk last month about words? Yeah. If you haven't seen it, you should go back and watch it. It's fantastic, where he talks about words and the importance of words with your photographs. I think there are, in fact, 3 kinds of stories. I think words are huge, and I think beyond that we have stories, and I think there are 3 kinds. And I think we have stories that give, stories that take, and then stories just for the facts. Ma'am. Examples of stories that give. Stories that give are like, throughout history, we have our ancestors and families and civilizations who have passed on, either through pictographs or whether it's written or through song or whatever they did, they told us how to live, what they encountered, what to watch out for, how to have families, how to have fun, how to laugh, what to eat, what not to eat. All those things, those are stories that give. They help us live. Other stories that give, from more modern times, are stories of inspiration. Stories that, like, wow, I had this thing happen. I, lost my leg, but this is how I overcame it. Or I had this bad thing happen, but this is what I did. This is how I made it work. Stories that lift you up. Stories that inspire. Stories that empower. Those are stories that give. Same with photographs. Stories that take. Good example, this is a really good example, you can all relate to this one, is you have a voice in your head that says, God, you're stupid. Oh my God, why did you say that? You are so fat. Why aren't you exercising? You're so lazy. Oh my God, that was a stupid thing to say. Have any of you ever heard any of these? You're all kind of going, no, yes, no, yes. We all have. That's our critical voice inside, and it tells you a story about yourself. It tells you a story about yourself that in many cases people assume is right, or maybe they don't even question it. They just start living it. Oh my God, that's true, okay. So pretty soon that becomes the filter, the lens through which you live your life, process your photos, take a photograph. Oh, I'm never successful because, I can never win because, I just want it to be this way, but it can't because. Whatever. Oh my God, I'm tired now. So stories that take. On the outside, pretty much any story that you hear from someone else that makes you feel like crap, that's a story that takes. It's taking away, it disempowers, it makes you less than, it makes you doubt, it makes you feel lousy. Those are stories that take. I had a very incredible mentor in my life who was my voice coach, and I did personal development with her for many, many years. So I think it might have been 30 years ago. She said to me, we were talking about the inner voice, right? The one that was the stories. She said to me, she said, if it tells you a story and it makes you feel bad, it's a lie. Pure and simple. No ifs, ands, or buts. If it makes you feel bad, it is a lie. And 30 years ago, I said, that's a lie. I just can't believe it's that simple because blah, 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 because I had so many stories. Well, I field tested this sucker for a long time. And I'm now on the page where I realize she's right. If it makes you feel bad, it is a lie, and it is a story that takes, and give it the boot, whatever you got to do. So art allows us to find those, allows us to discover those for yourself. Because if you're in your artistic state and let's say you're processing, how many of you process photos? Yeah, okay, so we're on the page here. I wondered about that. So you're processing a photo and you let yourself go in this zone where, okay, this would be beautiful, or this, I feel like trying this, or let's try this. And it starts to feel amazing. And all of a sudden, you know, you find yourself like it's been a hard day, but now you're having some fun. And oh my God, you're in your happy place. And wow, I never thought of doing that. And you're in this sort of uplifted place. You start to realize, wow, the rest of the time I feel really crappy. Why is that? You almost need the contrast to even find out how much you're beating yourself up or how much you believe bad stories or whatever, to even know that there's another choice that you could make. Stories, just for the facts, have their place. They're not particularly emotional. The first two are very emotionally loaded. The third one is like, what's the story of this photograph? What did you do? Well, I used my Canon 5D Mark III. I used my 24-70 2.8. These settings, I shot at HDR, then I processed it and I used this software, and that was how I did this photo, which is valuable. Some people need that. The DMV needs to know what happened in the intersection when your car got crunched. Those are important stories, but they're not emotional. They're not going to inform you the way these other two do. And since we're talking art, so we started with signature, right? We talked about art, and it allows you to dream, so now we're in this part of the story. And now we're coming over here, we're coming into another place of the story, which is, what if? What if is one of my favorite, I always call it a game because I like to have fun, but it's one of the most powerful games, tools out there. What if allows you to play a different game? What if allows you to say, well, this is how it seems to be, but what if it were like this? What if I tried that? It starts to lift the lid off of, it's always like this and I am always in pain, right? And it allows you to start to crack open some perspective. Where's that microphone? I'm gonna show you a video, but I have to do it a certain way. It's here? Oh, is it on? So I'm gonna play you a story about possibility, about perspective.
Constructs, complex ideas, images, or theories, formed from a number of simpler elements. In our minds, we build constructs to give ourselves order, structure, safety, and sometimes they do. Sometimes they lead us down roads we never intended to go. Patterns repeat. Sameness numbs. Until it seems our world of construct spins out of control. Until our heart speaks of freedom. Our soul reflecting passion we never imagined. our world becomes enormous, and suddenly we seem quite small, even insignificant. But we are not. We are all part of something greater, something fluid and deep, and a connection to an incredible strength. Beauty lives here, and a visionary inside that sees things differently, uniquely. Greeting that one is like a new dawn, soaring. Inside every construct lies the chance to see a new light, a chance to travel new roads, the chance to marvel at the world around you. And when that happens, the light prevails.
What if? What if you take the things in your signature and create something new? That was what I was trying to do with these little galleries. It's online now at littlegalleries.com, but it's these combinations of voice. Photographs contain your voice. In my case, I just happen to have a voice that I use as a voice. And I wondered what would happen if I put them together and created a third way of speaking through these videos. So what if you did that? What if you took, I don't know, a photograph? What if you took this photograph? This is a cool photograph of a house, of a broken down house. It's got a story. It's out in the middle of this big old, humongous, I don't know how many, I guess you measure it in miles. It's just a huge, huge valley. Has some cattle. And you look at that and you go, wow, that is really something. That house has a story to tell. Nice telephone lines, by the way. It's really awesome. And it's got some cool colors. Now I see it in black and white because that's my background, and this looks very black and white, but I had to play with color. And I said, what if this is in a transit place, this house? What if we made it in a transit place in its own world? And what if the light were shining on it and giving it its due and telling its story? And what if it were black and white? It's off the screen. That becomes another story, another way to tell the story. And black and white is so interesting because there's so many shades of black and white and gray. And what if we did that? And what if we made that feel like it's another era? That looks like photos that my grandmother used to have, that I still have, that I inherited from her. Now suddenly I feel like I'm there. And then what if we made it even more stark? What if we made it so dramatic and so contrasted that it tells a whole different story? That's just me playing my what if game one day. But that what if, and then taking the action. So now we're signature, we're art and dreaming. Now we're what ifing, and now we're putting it into action. Because inspiration is great. Dreams are important. All those things, you've got to get to those. But if you don't put it into action, if you don't actually put it into something, you know, this whole creative universe that we live in is meant to be manifested in. It's meant to create things. If you don't create things, if you don't follow through, it kind of just falls flat. So here, by going, I'm going to show you some befores and afters, only because we're playing what if, right? We're going to play this what if game. Shot of Sienna, it's nice. It's fine. It's a good Facebook shot, whatever. So, but what if I made it feel like something I would find in a curio shop, or after I dug through an art store that had some stuff thrown at the bottom of a box. What would that look like? I love textures. Of course, I love my colors. This was New Zealand. It had the bones. It had the right bones. It had the mountain and the trees, and the sky just sucked. It just did. But it should have been prettier, but I couldn't come back, and it was here, and I'm like, well, what if I made it look the way I want it to look? That's my life right there. That's what I want, right? So, I mean, again, my husband can attest to the fact that I do this to pretty much everything. So I'm like, that's how it should look, by golly. And then this. Oh my God, how often, well, maybe some of you get to Paris more than I did. I got there once, and it was snowing. It was December. It was a crappy day. I got all this schmoo all over my lens. And then looking at this, I wanted to take a really cool I call it Notre Dame shot. And wow, that's what I got. Okay, that's the raw. Isn't that pretty? And I was like, damn it. Like, where's the sky? Where's the drama? Where's the... But I took it a little skewy because, again, I had that looming thing. So to me, she's the school mistress, and these are her minions. And they run around and harass the students, and the minions are like, yeah, 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 me, you, me. So those are the bones. I got the bones. It just wasn't all there, so I put it there. Because that's what I saw. That sky, because I've had this conversation with Brian in the past where there was a time when I didn't do skies. And he scoffed at that years ago. And I do skies now. Because without it, I wouldn't have that. And gosh darn it, I only go through this life once. I'm going to have that, by golly. Because you're not going to give it to me, right? You're not going to, oh, here, I'll give you that. Yeah, right, okay. I'll make my own. Thank you very much. So this attitude, you cannot help but have it travel into the rest of your life. You are not a compartmentalized being. You're just not. So you do stuff like this in your photography, and you start playing and playing what if, and actually creating something and putting it out there and getting feedback, and oh my God, pretty soon you go, well, that was really fun. Where else can I do that? Right? And that's when your life starts to change. It's a transformational process. So here's that shot I was telling you about. I didn't like the board. It was too straight, so I bent it and did that to it. And this was, God, it should have been such a good shot. And now it is. Same thing here. I felt like this is kind of very, very ant-like. You've seen, the ants? Like it's going to crawl into the water, and it had its little boulders already leading the way. So I'm like, it's there, and yet it's not really there, is it? Oh, yes, it is. Now it is. And it's got some dream. I love our little, my mystical mist, my magic, my dream. Gotta have that. Nice shot. It's okay, whatever. I like it better now. Yeah, a little texture, a little extra color. It was all there. I didn't have to add a lot. It isn't like I sat there and made something up. There's plenty of nights I've shot on this pond, which is near my home, that those colors were in the sky. Just didn't happen to be that night, so I put it there. Meh. So sue me. This was okay. The light, I know. I could see it in certain lights. This water was so incredibly green blue, but in this shot it didn't show, and I was like, oh yes it does. Yeah, that's what I saw. So this is what I do. I go around playing, what if I do this? What if I do that? This, was in, this. I went and did the Trey Ratcliffe's New Zealand adventure. I was one of the coaches for his first one, and this was one of the places we went. And it was an unfortunate sky. It just was really boring until I did that. Because now it's got some drama. Like it or not like it, you don't have to like it. I really don't care. My point is, in showing you this is how I felt it. I mean, this is the drama, this is the color, this is the yum, this is what I loved about this moment, because this is how it felt. Same thing here. What was funny about this, though, is I was shooting this in Hawaii, this gorgeous, the sky and everything, and I did shoot at HDR. This is one exposure. But there was a photographer out there shooting his bride. He was doing a bride shoot, an engagement shoot. And they were out on this rock, and I was like, you're ruining my shot. which is hilarious, right? But I said, oh well, I'm going to clone stamp you. So I did. Oops, I went too far. Sorry, hitting this thing too hard. So I clone stamped him. Gave him a little Hawaii, little Hawaii 5-0 twist, and we have that, which I like. And then this was one, we were going somewhere, and of course Trey gets in his car, and we're going, we're not stopping. Well, we do stop sometimes, but at this point we were going, and I'm like, wait. So I took that as we went racing by, because I was like, it's the bones, I see bones, I see that. Because I saw it like an old canvas painting, like a store in Italy. So this is the point where you get to take your world and make it something different. And this is what we did here.
Voices of the past. Screaming. Echoing. Hello, 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 hello. Is anyone there? Anyone? Get me out. It's time. Find the key. Come back to me. Reflecting. Love is the key.
So we did that. Because I figure I have a voice. I have two voices. I'm very fortunate. I have photography and I have my voice. And I'm going to use it. I'm going to use them both. I'm going to use them any way I can come up with when I say, what if? What if I tried this? Little galleries, I don't know. I didn't really have a super, huge vision for it. It was just, what if I take other people's work and we make a story about something amazing? What if we take grunge, like the pain of death practically, and reinvigorate it with life? What does that look like? What if we did that? So that's what that story was about. So here's the thing, is that by living your life artfully, by chasing after your photography in an artful way, think about when you hold your camera, what's going to tell the story? Is it told better from here? Is it told better like this? Is this a straight documentation? or do I want to skew it? Think about, well, how do I feel? What do I stand for? This is the part in the story, right? Which started with legacy, and now it's art and dream, and now it's what if. Now we're creating something and we're moving it into the world. Now all of a sudden it's a motor, it's a machine, it's moving through the world, and it is leaving your mark wherever you go. If you feel invisible, you are not invisible, and you'll be less invisible, feeling invisible, if you are thinking about what you have to say, what your stand is going to be, what mark you're going to leave, what people are going to say about you and think about you when you're gone, not just from the room, but from this life. Is it going to be different? Or is it just going to be the same old, same old? I get caught in the same thing everybody else does. I work off a list, which is stupid. But at the same time, I go, all right, I've got a list, but what does it mean? You know, what are the things that I want to do that are going to make a difference? What are the things I want to say? Who do I want to be? I can bitch and moan and whine and complain better than probably any of you in here, because I got some drama. But I got some juice behind it. But why? What's the point? And when it comes to photography, I can shoot realistic. That's my background. I can shoot black and white. I can be all art and I can be all traditional. But why? I know I have something to say that I'm going to say it. Damn it. So quit arguing with me. So I have doing a show called The Chat with Karen Hutton. Sound bite-sized insights from some of the coolest people on the planet. Nicole Young has been on there. Lori Rubin has been on there. And the reason I'm doing it is because I look around at photographers and their issues and what they're trying to accomplish, and they want to be more, they want to be bigger, they want to be this, they want to be that. We have got to cross-train. I've been fortunate to do so many things that I've discovered the thread that pulls them all together, and it's the stuff we're talking about right now. So on The Chat, my goal is to develop, for however long I do this show, is to develop a library of people who are living their life artfully, thoughtfully, in a way that perhaps isn't traditional, but who are finding a way to take that part of them that they're passionate about. These could be photographers, they could be musicians, singers, business people. They can be anyone who is living their life a little bit differently. We're going to have a short chat, it's a 15-minute show, and shares. Okay, so what have you discovered? What did you find out? You know how when you get together, well, what did you find out along the way? I want to steal from that. That's the intent behind there, and that's why, because these are people who have taken those dreams and have put them out into the world. How did they do that? We want to know. So in moving toward wrapping this thing up, our story signature, we dream, we what if, we actually do it, now we're doing it. This is when it informs your life, because it's never enough just to process a photo this way. It feels so freaking good, you want to do it in your whole life. So this then becomes, what is your legacy? You're all very young, most of you here are younger than me. I'm older than you think. And I'm at a point now in my life where in the beginning of my life, I said, oh my God, there's so many things I want to do. I've got to do them all. That's why Lori read such a long list of things, because when I was really young, I said, I'm going to do all these things. Now, I have to do these when I'm young, because when I get to be this age, I'm not going to have good knees, so I'm going to be able, you know? So I kind of like have worked my way through my list. Now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, what difference did it all make? What can I do to help people who are behind me coming through to get here faster? Why do they have to suffer the way I did? I had some amazing mentors, some amazing people in my life who showed me the way, elders who lived by vision and who created their life in this certain way and informed my art and my life. That's kind of who I want to be. If I'm talking about light and journey and lines and so on and so forth, what is my legacy going to be? And it shows up in my artwork. It absolutely shows up in my photography. I'll pass up shots because I'm like, that's a nice shot, but what's the point? What's the story? I'm always walking around. If I see something that attracts me and I go, okay, this is cool, but what's the story? What's the story? What's the story? And that tells me where to put my camera. And then I most often see it processed, but sometimes not. Sometimes I just know the vibe, and I know if I shoot it right and compose it right, it's going to talk to me. And y'all know now that actually happens. It's going to talk to me when I go to process it. So, you and your photography. I challenge you to this. What will be your story? What are you going to tell? What words are you going to use? How is it going to inform your life? How are you going to start seeing the world? This is the gift that we have. Artists have to take weeks and months and years sometimes to create their work. All we got to do is hold up a camera. What's the story? What difference are you going to make to the people who come along behind you? And how are you going to tell that story? Through your photographs, which will evolve as you go through life. It'll change. Like, I'm all into color now. I may go back to black and white. I don't know what I'm going to do. I just know that every moment I go into a photograph and process, there's this creative muse who says, I'd like some more texture, please. And I give her more texture. I don't argue with her anymore. I'm like, I used to say, oh, that's not going to work. Because she'll go, fine, whatever. And then I don't hear from her again for a year. That sucks. So now, I listen to her. So I really believe, I feel, I experience, and I see that in our photography and in our art, there is the possibility, probably maybe the only possibility you have in your life at this time, I don't know your lives, but to allow that spark of divine fire to come through you, inform your art, and it will inform your life. You have no choice. So I see that my signature is my point of view. I see that my legacy is actually my soul's voice, enlivened by the breath of the divine. Oddly enough, I see it that way. And that my art and my photography is my gateway. And I'm not going to tell anybody what to make of it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to show up with guns blazing and do the best I can to put that across and let it go, because I'm not going to tell you what to think. But I'm going to do my best to share it. It was George Bernard Shaw who said, I have my own soul, my own spark of divine fire. And he said it in Pygmalion, the book that became My Fair Lady. Henry Higgins was all mad when he said this, because Eliza had walked out on him. He's like, you can't do that to me. I have my own soul, my own spark of divine fire. But it is so true, so applies to what we're all doing here and to what you all are doing at Google, which is incredible. And Google Plus has changed so many lives. Mine, the opportunities and the things that I think about because of Google Plus and because of the spark of divine fire that y'all have brought has changed everything. So I hope you keep doing it. I hope you keep letting all of us do it, and that you just let it come through and let it be whatever it's going to be next, because it will be amazing. And so the light prevails. And thank you. I hope you take that into your life. Thanks.